Hello, and welcome to our inaugural episode of Why We Love This Band featured on Renegade Jukebox. This is a concept me and Mike have been kind of tossing around for a while, just talking about bands that we're genuinely massive fans of and don't want to just make an entire series discussing their entire catalog and just going, hey, this album's great a million times. Plus, we like discussing things like memories relating to the albums we've enjoyed over the years, live shows, and just genuinely talking about music that we really enjoy. So that's, I guess, been the inspiration for this series.
And what better way to start than honestly a band that has been really formative for my adolescent years, Avenged Sevenfold.
Now, I guess this would just be the part of the show that we just kind of go through our history with this band, even though, I guess we're going to kind of drag it out across every studio album. But I guess, Mike, how did you get into the band initially?
This answer is going to sound basic because it's how everyone outside of the Orange County area got into the band. When they signed to Warner Records in, I believe, either 2004 or 2005, they put out a video for Unholy Confessions that was pretty much like the example of fake it till you make it. Um, where like the video is the band playing out to a sold out crowd, but that whole video was like pretty much all edited footage together specifically for the video. But long story short, that was that was the song that immediately got my attention. And then the very next year, That Country was released as a single, and it was the year that City of Evil came out. And admittedly, it took me a while to for the band to really um become a favorite of mine, but this is how my story began.
Mine is different, and I was actually just gonna kind of hop in and say about the Unholy Confessions video is that actually had to be reshot. Like they had an entire music video ready to go, pretty much, and it was just them doing the basic band playing a dingy warehouse and the lights don't work in it kind of music video. But then they ended up reshooting it, obviously, probably because of the Warner Records Association. My history with the band is different, mostly because I will even talk a little bit about this, throughout the rest of this episode. I remember watching this awesome YouTube channel that doesn't exist anymore called the Rocket Out blog, and it was just slowly leading up to the release of Nightmare, and that's how I discovered a lot of the awesome heavy music that I would eventually end up getting into. That's how I found out about music news and heard about tours. So that YouTube channel, despite it not existing anymore, was pretty formative to my music listening years as a teenager. But yeah, Sevenfold was one of the bands that always got talked about on that channel. So that's how I got hyped up for when Nightmare came out. And, if I was just waiting for them to eventually tour here.
Nice.
And I guess now's the point where we start from the beginning and sounding the seventh trumpet. It's certainly an album.
Yeah, this is an album. It's really
Like, we're not trying to make it sound like it's an abomination. Like, it's not an awful listen. It's just, it's not particularly memorable compared to a lot of the later stuff, like even some of the more questionable releases. But like, I'll be fully honest, guys, I had not listened to this thing since high school, and I don't think I'll listen to it for another maybe 10, 11 plus years.
yeah, this is the album that I genuinely have returned to the least. And fair or not, this sounds like a first record.
But even a lot of first records from new wave of American heavy metal bands at this point, a lot of them were better, either that or they were just re-recorded. Like, The two main examples that I can think of are New American Gospel by Lamb of God, which stellar record, like we even need to say it. And then there's Killswitch Engage's debut, which, as great as that record is, a lot of it's not as amazing as the stuff would come after isms happening there. A lot of it is just due to budget and those songs eventually getting re-recorded and then eventually just going like, oh my god, this is actually amazing. Unfortunately, that's not really the case with Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. I mean, the most memorable thing for me on this record is one song I just refer to as the Offspring song because it literally just sounds like an Offspring song.
Um, oh yeah, that was Streets, which
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't even hate it. It just sounds too much like an Offspring or Bad Religion song or a No Effects song.
we'll circle back to the Bad Religion comparison in a second, but
Oh, definitely.
yeah, I don't hate this record. It has sort of the raw iron ore that would be refined on later records. Um, Particularly the musicianship is certainly there.
And plus, the other thing too is that Sinister Gates isn't really in the picture at this point. I mean, until the re-recording of the intro, like it's kind of half baked, and really the band doesn't have too much of an identity beyond like let's sound like new wave of American heavy metal bands like Bleeding Through just starting to get exposure. That's my thing with this record. Thankfully, in 2003, things drastically improved.
Yep. Waking the Fallen is I think that this is the record where the band really began. And yeah, you can say a lot of that is because Sinister Gates is fully ingrained into the lineup.
Yeah, this is just one of those classic new wave of American heavy metal albums, like up there with Ascendancy, up there with Gone Forever, As the Palaces Burn, Art of Balance by Shadows Fall. I mean, a lot of this album, just like re-listening to it in 2023, it still holds up. It doesn't sound like, oh, this album was recorded in 2003 and it's just kind of a product of its time. It's not the case.
Yeah, no, I can't say it's their best work, but it is just damn good for staying like exactly in its lane, in terms of just being a rock solid metalcore record.
Yeah, I mean, it's got everything that the band's really good at: shredding guitar solos, the twin guitar attack. M Shadows is actually, I actually think his voice sounds good. I've never really understood the whole his voice sounds whiny thing, which I do have a lot of issues with a lot of metalcore bands, and some of that might come up later on, but none of this just screamed the typical metalcore, my girlfriend broke my heart, now I'm sad and depressed and I'm gonna write a song with breakdowns about it kind of thing happening here. Like, there's complexity, there's stuff that's established to kind of just go, this is what Sevenfold will eventually do on later records, but let's just kind of plant the seeds of what's to come.
Oh yeah. Favorite track on the record, whether or not you want to include the singles.
Let's just include anything. Anything's fair game, because like Unholy Confessions is a classic new wave of American heavy metal song. Chapter 4, I honestly forgot how good this song is. Like, and just for the record, the song has a lot of biblical references in it, and even the band's name is a biblical reference, but it's not like they're a Christian band or anything. But no, Chapter 4 has everything that you would want out of a new wave of American heavy metal song. Great drumming, great guitar work, vocals that sound killer, awesome stuff. Eternal Rest is amazing. Second Heartbeat, the I Won't See You Tonight suite I would say, probably the highlight, giving you like a 13-minute track on this thing. It at least establishes the band's ambition.
kind of an underrated track on the record is Desecrate Through Reverence. But I agree with everything you said about the two-parter of I Won't See You Tonight.
Oh, it's awesome. Like if your main introduction to Avenged Sevenfold is just Hail to the King, I would say go back and listen to this, and then you'll realize, holy shit, they're not just copying legacy acts.
Yeah, I think Waking the Fallen is a much better intro to the band than their previous record, and that's that's usually true for a lot of acts. Like you don't always have to start at the beginning to really get into a band.
Yeah, is some debut albums you can literally just treat it as a you can come back to it when you're ready kind of situation. Like a really good example that I can think of just kind of off the top of my head, not everybody got into Rush because of their debut. And like I love Rush's debut, but that's also because I'm a massive Rush fan, but you kind of get my point.
Same. Again, as a Rush fan, I wouldn't tell people, yeah, go ahead, start at the beginning. No, you go a little bit deeper into their catalog.
And I guess with that in mind, just kind of that sweet spot between 2003 and 2004 when the band started, building a little bit of momentum is two things. One, the signing to Warner Brothers Records. Two, M Shadow's voice is obviously going to change on the next record. Like there was one point where I have no idea what lines up just because I keep hearing multiple different things that he didn't want to do any of the screaming anymore. He had to have surgery and blew out his voice out on Warp Tour. I kind of can't come to like a definitive conclusion why that was dropped.
Um, yeah, I don't think there's ever been like really a definitive answer. All I know, and admittedly, this is even according to Wikipedia, that the credit for M Shadow's getting that like that really refined singing voice is he got the vocal coaching from Ron Anderson, and just to give you some of the names that he's worked with: Axl Rose, Chris Cornell, Miles Kennedy, Ozzy Osbourne, Matt Heafy, Seal, Alicia Keys, Tom Cruise, probably for Rock of Ages, but I digress. The list is long.
Yeah, actually, the Matt Heafy thing was from when Trivium was doing Mayhem in 2014, and M Shadows was the first one to call him about hearing about blowing out his voice.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I guess with all of that in mind, I'm just establishing that City of Evil is going to be very, very different from the previous record. Prepare for that to be a motif throughout this episode, if you will. Because, yeah, this is arguably the album that broke A7X. And the thing that I kind of find weird, and this is just M Shadow saying this in interviews recently, apparently the album did not sell very well initially. And like even the first single, Burn It Down, was not received well at all.
Okay, couple things. One, remember how when I started the spiel, I said Bat Country was the next song after Unholy Confessions that I heard from the band?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that Burn It Down was technically came before it. So while it still kind of baffles me the thought of City of Evil not being, a like gigantic hit right off the gate, it does kind of make sense in hindsight, thinking of how I was exposed to their music.
Well, the thing that surprised me, and I know you're going to bring them up later on once we're in between self-titled Nightmare, is apparently, and again, M Shadows has said this in like a fairly recent interview, that it was Good Charlotte actually that was helping the band get their popularity on TRL back in the day. Apparently they had some segment on TRL or did some week where some bigger bands were just going like, hey, here's some new artists you should be listening to. And Good Charlotte picked Avenged Sevenfold and picked the Backcountry video. And that's what caused City of Evil to start selling more albums.
Yeah, that actually tracks. Again, we'll get into a little bit more of the relationship between these two bands later, but for now, yeah, City of Evil. It is a very important record for the genre.
I have a take about it. Yes, it is one of their best albums, but it also kind of has some faults going against it. The way I would describe it, and this band might be the band I'm about to compare A7X to, might be part of our sister series that me and Mike are kind of discussing to go along with this, called What Happened to This Band. It is kind of A7X's Dookie in a way, if you think about it. Like, initially it doesn't sell super well originally, but eventually just starts building that momentum. I would say City of Evil, yeah, it definitely sounds like 2005 to some degree, but it also kind of doesn't. Like, I can completely understand why this would establish a lot of the band's popularity, like starting in 2005. Like, you do start noticing the more progressive side of the band coming out. A lot of the influences was like European power metal and Children of Bodom, which I was kind of surprised at, because like I've been all over this band's Wikipedia since I was in high school. So it's like, the fact that I didn't even notice this is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, that specific influence is a little bit surprising, but also listening to the album again, yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah,
This does feel very power metal and thrash inspired.
yeah, especially like, again, I'm kind of surprised Burn It Down did not go over well with the fan base, but I guess that's just how things were in 2005, I guess, because like the way it just goes from that song, Blinded in Chains, Trashed and Scattered, those are probably like my favorite of the first half of this record. But again, I personally like gravitate towards like the longer songs. The main thing I will tell people is that this is a very long album. Like, on my re-listen, I had to like break it up into chunks just to, get through the entire 72 minutes.
Yeah, I don't even think I listened to the full album the last time I did, only because whatever YouTube playlist I had, like a couple of tracks were missing, and really random ones too. But yeah, this album, there's a lot to like on it, but I kind of agree with what you said about the back half being the more interesting stuff from a musical perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess take Beast and the Harlot for an example. I mean, like, I do still kind of like that song, mostly just for like that opening riff. It's the way you start off an album. It's just, my thing is the way it just launches into that chorus. It does get kind of jarring and it is kind of cheesy, but at the same time, it still, like I said, shows off a lot of what's good about the band, the twin guitar work, a lot of the drumming, the Rev's drumming, especially throughout the entirety of this thing, is just amazing. Apparently, he was learning, like, just practicing drums nonstop to get to like 210 beats per minute. So I
Wow,
guess
that that
that
that takes that takes commitment to your craft, and it shows in a lot of these tracks.
Well, I mean, to kind of throw this in early on, like, the Rev was a total prog geek, and that's also kind of why Mike Portnoy kind of took notice of them with this album. Was he heard about them getting popularity on TRL and was like, how is this band with an album that has a 9-minute song and closes out with another 9-minute song getting this popularity? And that's how he ended up, hearing their name floating around.
That explains why
Later
Portnoy
events.
is, yeah.
We'll leave it at that for newcomers to this band, I guess. But yeah, like, that's just kind of my main thing, is just the chorus on Beast and the Harlot can be kind of jarring, and then especially Seize the Day for me is kind of the weakest link on this album.
Seize the Day was one of the songs that was just kind of just randomly not in the playlist that I was listening to, which is fine because it is really disposable.
Yeah, I get they're kind of trying to go for like a November Rain, Don't Cry kind of track, but at the same time, I'm also like, this is also kind of just done better on I Won't See You Tonight on the last record. And that at least had some growling to kind of break up the clean singing and had the twin guitar attack and double bass. But, and again, I'm not opposed to ballads. It's just, I don't know. It's just me at my age, listening to like a ton of like Napalm Death and Scar Symmetry. It's just, it's jarring. But again, like to kind of just praise more of it, the back half, awesome. Especially the track Betrayed, which I will take anything that is a tribute to Dimebag Darrell and praise it.
Same.
That should just be a given. MIA, again, that is a really killer end to this record. A 9-minute epic. The Wicked End and Strength of the World are awesome. Sidewinder has a really killer bass line that opens it up. Like that shows like what Johnny Christ can do on the bass. So there's a ton of to like on City of Evil, but it can also be jarring. But
Yeah,
I mean,
especially if you're like actually going through this band chronologically, yeah, the jump between Waking the Fallen and City of Evil, it's a pretty big jump.
oh, massively. But at the same time, I can't really bitch if this is somebody's gateway into heavy music. So
Oh
I'm
no,
gonna
not
say
at all.
like this is along with Waking the Fallen, a new wave of American heavy metal album at its core, just with the shreddy guitar work, the double bass, the more traditional metal influence, but with a bit of modern elements thrown in there. It's still worth a listen to in 2023. If by some chance you haven't heard City of Evil, go listen to it. You won't be disappointed.
Now we move on to the next couple years, 2005 to 2007.
I would actually say, like, don't forget to mention that, like, somehow they won, like, Best New Artist at, like, one of the MTV Awards
Oh yeah.
for a song that's inspired by Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Okay, yeah, that is certainly a bizarre combination of words.
But I mean, hey, anything to take time away from a douchebag like one of the bad Chris Browns in this world.
True, very true.
And also, the Ozfest 2006 lineup was pretty fucking amazing. Let's just get that out of the way, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like, obviously, Ozzy being on the lineup and Black Label, but I mean, System of a Down, Hatebreed, Lacuna Coil, Dragon Force, Unearth, All That Remains Prior to Sucking, Between the Buried and Me, Strapping Young Lad. Like, if this would have rolled through Western Canada and I had been into all of these bands as a kid, I would have gone.
Yeah, that sounds like a really killer lineup.
I guess with that out of the way, next album, self-titled. There's a ton to kind of unpack with this.
Um,
I I
but
don't
the
know if you
bet
want to give your thoughts first.
um this album, so this is the first time that Avenged Sevenfold really pushed themselves beyond just the confines of heavy metal. There's influence from like places that, they seem mundane now, but back in like the mid to late 2000s, like these kind of shifts for like a mainstream band of their caliber seemed a bit like, oh, you're going there. For example, A Little Piece of Heaven is very influenced by like Danny Elfman, a lot of Broadway musicals, big band, all of that.
Mr. Bungle, don't forget, that's a name that's going to be coming up a lot later on.
Oh, for sure. Um,
But
Dear
I,
God has like a country twang to it,
which
but
is surprising that their inspiration for doing that song was they're apparently friends with the country band Big and Rich.
hmm,
Like that's how that came about. Like My thing with this record, though, is I kind of see it more as a transitional record in hindsight.
I
Like
can see
if you
that.
like if you really think about it, like I'm gonna be completely honest. At the time, I aggressively did not like the hard pivot away from City of Evil back when I was in high school getting into this band. And I was just like, honestly, there's 3 good songs out of the 10. Like, why am I listening to this? Now going back and listening to their catalog, album after album after album, it honestly makes a lot more sense given that the direction that they're eventually going to go on the next record and future releases. And I'm just going to also be kind of wholly honest. My favorite songs back then are still my favorite songs now.
Um,
I guess we
it,
might as well
it,
just get into favorite songs.
yeah, and like what's really easy for you is that these songs are pretty much like they're early in the record, and B, they're pretty back to back.
Well, for me, like the main thing for me is like critical acclaim. Yeah, there's parts in the music that sound really good, but it also just kind of the lyrics kind of read like somebody who just listened to Get in the Ring by Guns N' Roses for an entire week and then just binge watched Fox News too much. Then Almost Easy is a really good song. Like the motif I'm finding with my favorite songs are probably that the Rev wrote them.
That
But
makes that makes a lot of sense.
but like again, the best songs for me, like A Little Piece of Heaven, it's phenomenal. Like I honestly think that it's showing the band's sense of humor because like the chorus to me is just hysterical. And then just Almost Easy, like the drumming on it's fantastic. The guitar works killer. It shows a lot of like weird little production flourishes that would come up on later stuff. Gunslinger actually kind of it puzzles me that it didn't end up on any Red Dead Redemption soundtrack.
I can hear it.
Any favorites that you want to mention?
Well, my absolute favorite actually is A Little Piece of Heaven because it makes sense for me, someone who is into like Broadway musicals, and also like the music video is a lot of fun. Something we'll probably get into a little bit more for their most recent record. And also it's clear that these guys must be pretty big Tim Burton fans, because you listen to this song and you can pretty much picture a version of it fitting right in like the soundtracks of A Nightmare Before Christmas or Beetlejuice or anything in that era.
Hey, not wrong. I mean, one thing I will mention that's really awesome about this record is the Rev gets to do a lot more singing. And
Yes.
one thing that kind of, and I'll get to it when we're talking about arguably my favorite song on this record. The Rev does a ton of the writing on A Little Piece of Heaven, but he also does parts of the chorus, like the must have stabbed her 50 fucking times bit. That part of the chorus, the last chorus on the song as well. And my thing is, like, even if I'm not the biggest fan of critical acclaim, I like his voice on these songs. Like, I kind of wish, despite future events, I kind of wish he was on later records and we would have gotten to hear more from him. I kind of like his not, it's not to the point where he is screaming, but it's not like purely clean singing. There's a gruffness to it, but there's not like a processed sound to it, if that makes sense.
There's a quirkiness to his voice that's kind of endearing. It is one of the reasons why I would say Critical Acclaim, while not their best opening track, it's still like it still goes pretty hard, even when the lyrics are, very dubious at best.
Again, somebody listening to Get in the Ring exclusively and then watching too much Fox News. But despite all of that, I kind of wanted to prefix it with the Rev's voice because my favorite song on the album is Afterlife. Now, I kind of wish somebody had introduced me to this song back in like late 2007, early 2008, because this would have been totally up my alley. Like again, the thing that makes the band great is the twin guitar work, the great drumming, but also the vocals. M Shadows is great on this track. Like I honestly hadn't been talking up how genuinely like his singing, despite Lost being on this album, his voice across this entire record, it sounds great. He's totally kind of come into his own after the in between time between Waking and City. But the thing with Afterlife is just that everybody just seems to be firing on all cylinders and just seems to be completely into it, and just the chorus is just absolutely infectious. The main thing for me that lands the killing blow with this song, actually, though, is the rev again.
Are you talking about the bridge?
Oh, absolutely. And just kind of like that awesome little production work. Keo, you know what? This is the part where we drop in our first sample so you guys can actually hear how awesome this sounds.
Here's something I have to ask. Which version of Afterlife do you like better? Because it is objectively a great song, probably the best song on this record. And kind of piggybacking off what you said, this is, in my opinion, the definitive M Shadows vocal performance. But my question is, do you prefer the album version or the alternative mix on Diamond in the Rough?
I'm gonna go with the album version just because the Rev's vocals are higher up in the mix.
Fair.
And there is a reason that we wanted to leave in that sample from Afterlife and talk about Afterlife last, is just because future events that change the course of the band forever. But before we get into that, I have one part of the band that I feel is worth noting, and then I will let Mike have the floor because there's also a pretty noteworthy song by a band I'm not exactly into. So, Mike.
Okay. So, another album that came out in 2007 was, give me a second while I actually figure out the name of the album. But a single that came out in 2007 was The River, which featured Avenged Sevenfold, but really just featured M Shadows and Sinister Gates. And we talked earlier about Good Charlotte essentially putting over the band on TRL when they introduced the Bat Country music video. And this is sort of continuing that relationship to a certain extent, where M Shadows sings the second verse and a little bit of the outro. And yeah, say what you will about the rest of Good Charlotte's catalog, but this song genuinely rules.
Yeah, even though I'm more into like more aggressive punk rock bands and hardcore bands, like even if I'm more into stuff that's on Epitaph Records, if anything, I'll give it to Good Charlotte. They managed to write a genuinely good song with a good hook. I mean, they're not exactly my thing, but I mean, hey, if this song comes on, I'm completely down to hear it. And plus, the other thing is that at least Good Charlotte aren't Simple Plan.
That is true.
The less said about them, the better. Mine, though, is in 2008, right before they start going to record their next album, is they release a live show, which I'm just going to kind of mention this. I don't know if this is as common in your area, Mike, but for me, I know a lot of people whose first concert was that Taste of Chaos tour that happened in 2008.
I've definitely I am aware of that tour, but I don't know anyone personally who went to it.
Oh, I know too many people who are like, oh, it was Avenged Sevenfold, Bullet for My Valentine, and Atreyu. That was my first metal show ever. And yeah, despite me not being a fan of most of those bands on that bill, I can only imagine A7X would have been worth watching. But hey, if you wanted to skip that tour like I would have, Live in the LBC and Diamonds in the Rough would have been perfect. So if the main thing I want to highlight on though is Diamonds in the Rough, which is a lot of outtakes kind of between City of Evil and self-titled and stuff that was recorded for self-titled but never actually made it onto the official record. But no, Diamonds in the Rough has some genuinely good stuff on it. Demons, Girl I Know, their cover of Flash of the Blade by Iron Maiden is really awesome, and complete and total deep cut, which I'm gonna give them respect for. And they even just did an updated version in 2020 where they included more stuff like additional bonus tracks and unreleased material. So cool that they have all of these leftovers, at least I can say.
Yeah, I like a lot of what's on this this collection. And even though their cover of Pantera's Walk isn't like the best, I would highly recommend.
Extremely faithful.
Yeah, it's faithful almost to a fault, but I would check out some live performances of that song from, I think, their Rock am Ring appearance in like 2006. That's probably the better version of that cover, but still, if you want to listen to a lot like more of their previously unreleased tracks, like there are some real gems in this collection.
Yeah, and it is genuinely cool that they try to preserve a lot of their unreleased material rather than just kind of like sweeping it under the rug. So I guess with that in mind, we transition into 2009 when the band starts to record their next album. So, man, we're about to go into depressing territory now, Mike.
Yeah, this is as far as I'm aware, this was at least specifically in like the metal communities, this was a loss that was felt everywhere. So I have to ask, do you remember where you were when you heard the news about the Rev?
Yeah, we were kind of alluding to this little bits throughout talking about Afterlife, and there was a reason for it. So I remember it was Christmas break when I was in grade 10, and either I would have been like just watching District 9 daily because like that had just come out on DVD and Blu-ray at that point. I remember going and pulling up the Rocket Out blog on YouTube and just hearing that the Rev had died. And that was just, it was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, at that point, I wasn't as familiar with a lot of their music, but like, that's kind of what made me go, like, well, what happened? And like, there was even just a lot of talking points because like, I knew they were working on an album, but at that point, we gotta kind of be honest and just go, is this even going to come out? Like there was even talks of Avenged just going like, you know what? 4 solid albums, one kind of iffy. Let's just call it a career. Like there's no way we can continue.
I'll
But
I'll be honest. I felt that way for a hot minute when I heard the news. Like, oh no, that's terrible because you never want to lose like a member of your band that was like so ingrained in the DNA.
like I remember just so many, to kind of just go to that territory. Like I remember specifically a lot of deaths that happened just throughout that entire year. Like I remember the day that we lost Ronnie James Dio, Peter Steele from Typo Negative, Paul Gray from Slipknot. Like the 2010s already was a pretty shitty decade, like not just for me personally, but just in general.
Mm.
But it already was not getting off to a great start by having all of that happen in just like under 6 months.
But now we can talk about the good news because and I remember at the time this being really exciting for me because around like the latter half of the 2000s into the 2010s, I was really getting into Dream Theater. So when I heard that Mike Portnoy was joining the band to at the very least finish this album and then play tours with them through the end of 2010, like that got me really jazzed.
Oh, like this is probably going to be one of the few times we actually get to talk about Mike Portnoy and his work, but like I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like I was a really big into Dream Theater. I was really like as soon as I heard Black Clouds and Silver Linings was coming out, I was just going back and trying to I had no idea where to start, so I just like picked whatever song I could, and I just found like the most batshit insane stuff off of Metropolis Part 2 that I could think of. So, like, the idea of him joining this band was just like, oh my God, this album better be incredible. And, like, just the hype going into it throughout that entire summer, like, going out of grade 10 for me, like, that had me amped for this record.
And I'm pretty sure at that time I called this like one of the best albums of that year, which in hindsight seems a bit silly, but consider how much I loved Avenged Sevenfold at this time. Can you blame me for gassing this one up?
Well, also, I'm gonna throw this out there too. Guess who produced this thing too?
I hope I say his last name right. Mike Elizondo.
Yeah, exactly. Like he worked on a lot of Dr. Dre and Eminem's best work. So like he's coming from like the rap game and doing a metal record, and obviously would do Avenged's next album. He would do The Hunter by Mastodon. So like this was his first foray into this universe.
So yeah, they have like great people behind this record.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of just jump into like the actual songs on this thing. So Nightmare, I remember wanting to like it more than I did when it came out, but like now that I've had time to kind of just like live with it more, it's become probably either my favorite or second favorite opening track on any of their records.
I think it just straight up is my favorite opener.
Yeah, well, one album coming up later we'll end up
We'll get
discussing,
to
but
that, but
yes,
I,
but I
but
mean, well, for me, Welcome to the Family smokes it.
okay, like I get it. That song is also a banger.
Yeah, exactly. I don't use that word very often, but banger feels appropriate. Just the way apparently Portnoy was just in the studio and just doing some random drum fill, and that just happened to become the intro. Like, despite the Rev being gone, his presence is still felt throughout the majority of this album. Like, it really does feel like, because apparently Mike Portnoy knew that they had demoed everything. He would listen to the demos and try to recreate the Rev's parts that he had written on an electronic drum kit, but then Portnoy would just be like, let me see if I can throw my own little flares into it. But then M Shadows would be like, holy shit, is Jimmy just playing on this record?
That's so cool how even like in the afterlife, the Rev still is like part of the band.
Pretty much. Like, you can't actually replace him. Like,
No,
that's kind of just
nobody
the
can. Not no Nobody can replace someone as iconic as the Rev. But
yeah.
um,
For me, about this record, though, it really does kind of feel like the best elements of the previous three records just thrown into one. If you want the more complex side and shreddy side of the band, you have that in spades. If you want the more new wave of American heavy metal side of things on songs like Natural Born Killer or God Hates Us, you have that. If you want something that's more arguably on the experimental side, kind of like the self-titled, I would say I prefer Tonight the World Dies over Dear God from the last record.
I think that's fair.
For me, though, for me, it's a lot of the single choices that I just kind of find like it's pretty ballad heavy. Like the album is ballad heavy, and I get why, But at the same time, like I do think So Far Away genuinely works well as a ballad. But for me, the best parts of Buried Alive aren't even the heavy bits. I kind of wish they would have gone from more like a Damnation era Opeth kind of vibe for that song. If
Hmm.
that makes any sense.
I hear you, but I also do love the heavier stuff towards the back half of that song.
Yeah. For me, though, the heavier stuff is just done better on like Natural Born Killer or God Hates Us.
Yeah, I'd say holistically, God Hates Us is a better song. But I honestly can't think of like a bad song on this record. This is borderline unskippable.
Oh, pretty much. And the two highlights for me where the album really lands its killing blows is the last 15 minutes. So this is where we have to go for the tearjerker moment. So we have to include this, even with the Rev's drum part still being included, but played by Mike Portnoy. Again, the Rev's presence is still on this album. On the song Fiction, they retain his vocals intact completely, and it's just a duet between him, M Shadows, and Mike Portnoy on the drums. And just even the lyrics are just a tearjerker, like in because like to give you hindsight on this was originally a song called Death when it was being demoed, and it was the last thing that the Rev ever recorded. And he literally said, "That's it. That's the last song for this record."
That is just, yeah, this song is probably the ultimate swan song for the Rev.
Oh, and like just even just the production work to get M Shadows and the Rev like layered on top of each other with the "So tell everybody, the ones who walk beside me, I hope you'll find your own way when I'm not with you tonight." Like it just kicks you right in the gut. Like, yeah, they could have thrown him on arguably my favorite song on the album we'll talk about in a minute, but yeah, arguably this could have closed out the album, but it doesn't.
Save Me is, it's like that is a pretty good closer.
It's my favorite song on the album. If anybody can deduce that, yeah, it's my favorite. It's the most Dream Theatery. It's the most progressive minded song on the album at the time. It was their longest. And if you really think about it, it's kind of the perfect way to tie together this record that's a tribute record and also just an evolution in their discography. I mean, so far to date, I actually just got this album on vinyl a couple days ago.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to slowly but surely eventually get all of them. Hopefully I don't have to pay 60 or 50 bucks for City of Evil though. Ugh. But I mean, with that in mind, this also kind of brought on some of the worst characteristics because, oh my God, this band got super fucking popular. Like, this was their first #1 album on Billboard, which meant tours. And at the end of this podcast, me and Mike will name our most barf-worthy Avenged Sevenfold tour. But Mike, did you hear about this back in 2010, the Uproar tour?
I vaguely remember that one, but I want to share quickly that I actually saw them for the first time back in 2010 during their appearance at K Rockathon 15, where they played with bands like Hailstorm, Hollywood Undead, All That Remains, and a couple other notable acts. But that was a really fun first that was a fun first concert for this band, because this was when Mike Portnoy was still with them on tour.
Which I consider it a missed opportunity. Like I get it. Portnoy was kind of because in September of that year he would have left Dream Theater, and I remember that day vividly. Oy. But I remember him just kind of like as soon as he was out of Dream Theater, really kind of acting like the desperate dude trying to get with the girl, for lack of a better phrase.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like I do consider it a missed opportunity for him to join the band and then have "Welcome to the Family" be the next single that they release with a music video with him in it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
my revisionist history brain can't help but go, man, how awesome of a music video would that have been to see Portnoy officially in the band?
That definitely was a missed opportunity, but I get it. Portnoy post Dream Theater is he definitely gets around. Let's
Oh,
just put it that way.
Oh, his stuff post Dream Theater has been awesome. So, anyways, the tour though that I really wanted to see to give what we're calling the good Avenged Sevenfold tour is this was the Uproar 2010 lineup for me, and I remember seeing ads for it on YouTube when I was, it was the summer of between grade 10 and 11 for me. So it was Disturbed touring behind Asylum, Avenged Sevenfold, Stone Sour, and Hailstorm.
Ooh,
I am still pissed at myself for not seeing that tour.
man, that would have been a great lineup.
Oh, dude, I really wish I went with my friend to go see that because he got to go see that tour and I was like, you motherfucker. Anyways, I guess with that in mind, obviously Mike Portnoy wouldn't stay with the band, so just between the next record, they would hire Aaron Elige as their new drummer. I didn't see the band live with him on drums, so I have no real take beyond the next record.
Yeah, the next one is Hail to the King. And listen, this is not a bad record per se. Avenged Sevenfold has never put out a bad record.
No, they don't have like an Elude Divinium Insanus or Cold Lake or a Path of Totality to their name. Like this album isn't awful. It's just
Like,
frustrating.
yeah, frustrating is the perfect way to describe this. Or undercooked, or just kind of this is like caffeine-free diet Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, pretty much. Like even just down to the album cover, like if you really like even sounding the seventh trumpet, every Avenged Sevenfold album cover has like established its own identity for the band. Sounding the seventh trumpet has the angels on it. Waking the Fallen has the death bat, which yeah, overkill logo comparison much. Has the death bat on a black background. Then City of Evil has a death bat riding a horse over a burning Hollywood, which looks awesome. Then Self-Titled has the, pure white cover with the death bat as opposed to a black background. Nightmare has the awesome death bat over a grave that says forever with the words REV for Rev clearly highlighted with somebody waking up from a nightmare. Awesome covers, right? So when I saw the cover for Hail to the King originally, it was that death bat that looked like it was fighting deadites.
Oh, are you talking about the vinyl cover?
No, the vinyl cover's different. Like it ended up being the cover for the single for like iTunes releases, but it was like a death bat with tattered wings riding a horse fighting a bunch of other skeletons looking like it was something out of Army of Darkness, and it looked awesome.
Oh yeah,
Apparently,
that did look awesome.
apparently everybody fucking hated it. And I didn't get it. Like I get, yeah, it does kind of look similar to a Lich King album, but I'm not gonna bitch if a band as popular as A7X decides to kind of go that route. And like I didn't hate Hail to the King when the song itself first released. But then the album cover, because the backlash literally just gets changed to like a just knockoff version of Waking the Fallen again.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah, and then the vinyl cover gets something that's even better than the previous two ideas with a skeleton version of the death bat just sitting on its throne with a sword. Like
That the vinyl cover is one of the three t-shirts that I own.
I have a I'll mention this talking about the next record. Actually, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut here. But yeah, like down to even just the cover art, it's a frustrating album. But with all of that said, I don't feel like we're saying anything new talking about Hail to the King. I'm just gonna say my thoughts and just kind of get them out of the way. A lot of this does sound similar to other bands you've heard.
Yeah.
And when I say similar, I mean literally when I heard This Means War for the first time in years, just in the past week to get ready for this, I literally just started singing, "Hey, I'm your life. I'm the one who takes you there." And I'm like, oh, right, wrong song. But then, like, it doesn't just happen there. It happens on the last song, Doing Time, where it just straight up sounds like an 80s Guns N' Roses song. Then there's Heretic, which straight up sounds like Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth.
That really is the biggest issue with Hail to the King. It comes off very derivative of, well, a lot of traditional heavy metal, but most apparently Metallica's The Black Album.
Yeah,
You
which,
could pretty much, and I assume you already mentioned this, but
yeah,
you could pretty much like 1v1 songs. Like Shepherd of Fire is Enter Sandman, but in D instead of E.
not
He,
wrong. I wouldn't really, though, because, like, it, I don't know. I don't know where I was really going with that, but, like, I would say Shepherd of Fire is one of the better tracks on this thing.
oh yeah, no. I also I feel that way too. Like
Yeah.
it is, again, not it's not a great opener compared to Nightmare, and we'll get to the next album. Like it's fine. It's like the musicianship is still there. It's just, as I've said before, a little bit undercooked.
For me, though, where the album starts to hit somewhat of a stride, at least, is the last three songs, which
Planets is, I think, out of those three, the one I come back to the most.
for me, I'd actually say Coming Home. Like, it doesn't sound that derivative of Iron Maiden for me, and at least kind of reminds you of what makes the band great. A lot of the great guitar work, the vocals on it. Like, M Shadow still sounds good throughout the entire project. It's just I don't know. My thing that frustrates me, and this frustrates me about a lot of metal discussions these days, is that yes, I do agree that we need new headliners for big festivals that aren't just, Metallica, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Slipknot. But at the same time, I don't think Hail to the King is the album that Avenged Sevenfold should have used to bank on that idea.
Hmm.
But like Planets, though, I will agree with you. It is one of the better songs on this album. Like that and Acid Rain are kind of what establishes the tone for the next record.
Oh yeah. Last thing I'll say, and this is going to sound unfair, but only because of the people who came before and the people who come after. I have nothing against Aaron Elige as a person, and like individually, he is a talented drummer. He just doesn't have the he just doesn't like stand out the way the Rev did, or Portnoy, or we'll get to him when we talk about the next one.
Yeah, like he's not a bad drummer by any means, but he just doesn't have that much of an identity beyond being pretty four on the floor. So I guess just with that in mind, clearly the band felt the same way and ousted him the next year in favor of Mr. Brooks Wackerman of Infectious Grooves and Bad Religion fame, which I had no clue how to feel about him joining the band initially because I didn't think he was going to be capable of doing a lot of the complexities that would be on some of their previous work. And holy shit, did he prove me wrong on the next record.
Um, Brooks Wackerman is awesome. Like there are no two ways around it. He can kind of do it all. Like, people obviously know him from Bad Religion and Suicidal Tendencies, Infectious Grooves, but like I say that nobody can replace the Rev, but at the same time, in I if you were to show someone who has never listened to Avenged Sevenfold, show them like a random track from City of Evil, and then show them the stage, like would they think that these are two different drummers?
Maybe there is little bits of noticeable differences, especially with the introduction of blast beats on the stage. So I guess, but I
Um,
mean, again, we never really got to see the Rev like 100. Like we knew what he was capable of in life, but it's like that's kind of why I mentioned during Afterlife. Like it's a bummer we didn't get to see him do more vocals and like for that matter, like show even more skill off as a drummer doing blast beats.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely agree there, but the stage, the
Yes.
stage is the stage is the reason why I'm glad this band is like still doing what they're doing like almost 2 decades later.
My spicy take for this episode, I think this is their best album.
Far from it from me to disagree. This I would probably say this is their best work.
So, just to kind of give people some background, like the way this album was being rolled out was already kind of weird, as is having a pretty well publicized fallout with Warner Records trying to drop a greatest hits album at the same time they're trying to release a brand new album. And just the way it was being rolled out, we had no idea what the title of it was even going to be. Hell, I had no idea that it was coming out until the week it was supposed to come out. So
Yeah,
already we're
how
kind of off on weird footing.
the the gap in time between the release of the title track and the album was 2 weeks at
Yeah,
most.
that is unprecedented, especially like this is still where you could still kind of go to some stores and buy CDs like I was up here in Canada. We still had a CD chain, but yeah, like this was just already a pretty weird rollout. So I already was going into this not knowing what to expect with it. And oh my God, did they release probably one of the best prog metal albums of 2016? Like this thing is incredible. Like on my original listen, I just thought, okay, it's an Avenged Sevenfold album. I like them. I'll jam it, and ended up liking the record. But I didn't really revisit it that much until this year. And oh my God, I kind of wish I was revisiting this thing more often.
Yeah, this album rules, and I'll talk up the title track a lot because boy, what a way to start the record.
Oh, the title track again, it introduces everything that's great about the band, but like just has little extra flourishes of again, just stuff like Dream Theater, like Opeth, more kind of like Ghost Reveries and Watershed era Opeth, I would say. And just it's not afraid to get weird. Like it's still a song built for an arena, but at the same time, it's nearly 9 minutes in length.
Yep.
Never once have I ever thought that this easily could have had a riff or two cut out. A minute could be trimmed and you wouldn't miss very much. No, it wastes no time. Like even from the keyboard intro to the drum intro to the shredding guitars, it's great. But then
Yeah,
it starts bringing back some stuff from like even Waking the Fallen, like even on the song Paradigm, bringing back the growling. Like this thing just hooks you straight from like the first 10 minutes.
yeah. Um, this song is probably the best way to open like a masterpiece of kind of like what you said, the band not being afraid to just throw caution to the wind.
Oh yeah, like this album totally feels like something they wrote for themselves rather than just going like, let's try to just write something that the masses want. Because I mean, you have an already 8.5 minute prog song like the title track, but then you go into something that's reminiscent of their earlier work with Paradigm, but then you get the more experimental side coming back with like Sunny Disposition and that chorus with the horn section and the saxophones. It's Sunny Disposition is kind of one of my favorite tracks on this thing.
I think it's mine too.
But for my personal favorites, though, if I had, like, I'm kind of bummed this didn't have more singles released from it.
Yeah, why only two?
I don't know. Maybe it was because they were expecting this to chart higher, because like this was their like Hail to the King was their last album to go number one. This one charted at like number four, but I think a missed opportunity, especially to capitalize on like the whole space and astronaut theme, which to kind of go back on your point about having a Hail to the King shirt. I have a stage shirt with the astronaut and it's a skull inside of the helmet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like that's the only Avenged shirt that I really ever need. But no, my missed opportunity, if they had to like get a third single out, I'd have to go with Creating God.
That's a pretty good choice for a third single.
Personally, there's a reason I included that in the intro I edited. I think it's the best song on the record. Well, one of many best songs on the record, but it's the one that I replay the most. Like a lot of the lyrical content on the album has to do with space, the evolution of mankind, nuclear warfare, just the entire concept of AI. Like this album already is going out of its way to be out there, but it wholly commits to it and is kind of a cool look on the band, if I'm being honest. But I mean, like, just the lyrical content, the way that the chorus is implemented, the way that Sinister Gates kind of piggybacks the chorus and like turns that into a solo towards the end of the song. Just go listen to Creating God. It's an amazing track. Cannot recommend it enough.
Would you say lyrically they were kind of ahead of their time, like in terms of really addressing things like AI and how that's becoming a lot more of like a growing concern today?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think that, just in a modern context, this album holds up really well. And I'm kind of annoyed that this isn't an album that's more discussed nowadays. It's just kind of treated like, it's another Avenged Sevenfold record, whatever.
I'll never understand that, like, that opinion, but yeah, teach their own. I will happily regard this as like an all-time classic of progressive metal.
Yeah, like I would heavily recommend this to people who want something. Like the album's not a concept album exactly, but if you're into stuff like Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime, for example, if you want something like if you were huge into Rush's final studio album, which those words still hurt to say in 2023, like yeah, I could not recommend this album enough to you. Like even just with a lot of the modern stuff in prog that we get from like Periphery and a lot of the Sumerian bands, Haken, just to name a few, I cannot recommend this thing enough. This album is criminally underappreciated for what it does, and I'm kind of annoyed that it did. Like, it still charted well for a heavy metal album in 2016, but at the same time, I kind of wish it got more of the praise that it deserves.
Before we get into their most recent release, do you want to talk a little bit about some of these covers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, that's kind of what I was gonna piggyback going into the next record, but I was actually just gonna say I was actually just gonna tell some stories about me seeing them live.
Okay, go ahead because I'm a little bit jealous that this was when you got to see them live.
Oh, I'm insanely happy I did because, well, two shows. I obviously Metallica's my favorite band, so I went to go see them in Vancouver, and just kind of as a little trip, I did Metallica in Vancouver, which it was them, Avenged Sevenfold, and Gojira.
Nice.
Yeah, that was like, this is a lineup of a lifetime. I cannot miss this. Then I went to another town here in Alberta to go see Slayer, Lamb of God, and Behemoth. Then came back to Edmonton to go see Metallica again. Same lineup, obviously. But the show that really impressed me the most was that they didn't have to compete with Metallica and Gojira, was their headlining show in 2018. And I still am amazed that they played as much of the stage as they did. All of the classics that I wanted them to play, they played them, even down to their cover of Wish You Were Here, that they played that live, and it was awesome. They played a good chunk of Exist, which was amazing. But I have like two main highlights. Was Mike knows about this, but like I constantly go on about how my city has some of the worst crowds I've ever dealt with. Like when I, like, just as an example, when I saw Iron Maiden in 2019, literally in Winnipeg, the crowd was perfectly fine. I could watch the show and be on the rail, no problem. The pit was like in the middle where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Great show. Awesome. When I come back to Edmonton, everybody's bum rushing the rail, acting like they're entitled to that spot on the rail, even though we've been waiting here for like 4 hours straight. And like
Yeah,
starting
that sounds pretty awful.
Oh, it is. Like, just imagine every show being like that. So I got absolutely annoyed at it like before the band even went on. So like I just screamed at these people. Like there was one dude who was like, I'm already a pretty in shape looking guy, but like there was one dude that I managed to scare from how bad I screamed at him. I was like, hey, there are people right here who I've been here for the last 3 hours waiting for this band to go on. You can fuck right off right fucking now. I am tired of you bum rushing the rail when if you wanted to be here, you should have got here on time. And then some of them were so scared they just slowly started to back away. And I was like, mission accomplished. And then just down to the rest of the show, like I remember exact moments where like M Shadows pointed at me in the crowd. I remember Brooks Wackerman tossed me a drumstick.
Oh, that's cool.
I even got one from when I saw them in Vancouver. So I also got a set list from M Shadows that's in my set list binder right now, and it has like all 16 or 17 songs that they played.
Nice.
Then another cool detail was me and my friend that I always go to concerts with. He was actually defending a mom and her kid who, like, yeah, maybe 4-year-old kid shouldn't be on the rail at a metal gig, but at the same time, like if they want to watch the show, let them watch the fucking show. So my friend was like trying to hold the crowd back with me, and then there was this one girl who was like trying to rip my spot off the rail and get to me. She raised a middle finger like right in my fucking face. Then I turned right around and I just flipped her off right back, and I
Nice.
held on it. But no, I say all of that in mind because she tried to rip the mom off the rail during Goddamn, and then she was like, I don't give a fuck. I want to be on the rail. And then my friend was like, well, I don't give a fuck about this then. Then he just slammed her back into the pit. Like he just pushed her like into the middle of the mosh pit that was active.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she just kind of got swept away in all of the action. So that was like a highlight to me. So no, I have a lot of good memories of seeing that show. So like that's kind of why I'm still debating if I want to go see them again, because like I don't think that'll ever be taught. And like just beyond the stage show, the pyro and all the cool stuff that they did, the tribute to the Rev during So Far Away, like doing stuff like that's awesome.
Yeah, I need to see Avenged Sevenfold again because the second time I saw them was supporting Hail to the King, which don't get me wrong, like they put on a great show, but now that like they're releasing better material, I feel like I'll have a better time seeing them with like the current lineup.
So I guess with that in mind, I'm just gonna kind of cut right to the chase with the next record because this
Hold
is
on,
officially
there is one thing I want to take a quick detour because well, I don't think either one of us are at all fans of Call of Duty. that like those games and the soundtracks are to some extent part of their legacy.
Yeah, I guess just I honestly I haven't heard a lot of them just ever since I heard them when they got released back in the day, whenever they would have gotten released. I know there's the Black Rain EP which has all of them on it, but I don't really have too much to say because I didn't listen to them preparing for this.
I've been listening to them just like sort of casually while rotating the band's discography, and they're pretty decent. Not Ready to Die is another one of those songs that like has M Shadows doing some more harsh vocals, which is cool, and I wish they would incorporate that a little bit more frequently. But it is just nice that we get some of that like post Waking the Fallen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess before we end up forgetting, I feel like we should mention their just because like you were saying earlier, the stage getting a deluxe edition with like a series of covers on it. There's a Rolling Stones cover, the cover of Wish You Were Here, a Beach Boys cover of all things, but I guess the most notable thing before I mention the hiatus, I guess you would say, is their cover of Retro Vertigo by Mr. Bungle. Kind of a sign of things to come with the next album. Like, I think this is a good cover, and I think California by Mr. Bungle is a really awesome experimental record, but kind of is an out of left field cover for them to some degree.
Yeah, in my opinion, like it's really only an out there cover for them because Mr. Bungle is just an out there band in general.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's been tons of interviews with M Shadows mentioning them as an influence post the stage. And, like, there's even an article of him talking about, like, how much of an influence California is on him. So, it is kind of a sign of things to come. But I feel like we should mention that obviously the stage tour ends up getting cut short due to more vocal issues with M Shadows. Like he got put on like 6 months vocal rest, which that's something I've never even heard of.
6 months is like that feels like an eternity for like for anyone with the talent of M Shadows.
Well, I also don't think a global pandemic help matters either because like basically Avenged were pretty much put on hiatus.
So yeah, that is quite the wall to hit.
Yeah. So I don't want to say that the next album that some people might have forgotten about the band or just moved on, but like I'm going to be fully honest, guys. Me and Mike were totally going into this next album not knowing what to expect from it, and even when we got the singles, we were just kind of going like, is this going to be an absolute train wreck?
Nick is not the biggest fan of A Day to Remember, but I was about to call this their You're Welcome.
I kind of see what comparison you're going with. I just know Rocked considered that the worst album of 2020 or 2021 whenever it actually ended up coming out.
Yeah, and like there's just so much weird energy surrounding the build up to this record. Should we also mention that they're back on Warner at least for this one last release?
Oh, I just imagine this divine comedy situation of M Shadows returning to the Warner Brothers offices with all the drama that happened with the release of the stage and that greatest hits album that wound up coming out. I just totally imagine him walking in going, "Yeah, we'll totally give you guys another City of Evil or Nightmare. We'll totally get to work on that right away." Like I just imagine that happening.
What was the Rush album that you were comparing this to in terms of like the sort of the mischief behind the scenes?
I don't remember which Rush album in terms of like mischief behind the scenes, but I guess just kind of doing whatever the fuck the band wanted. I guess that kind of started with Caress of Steel, maybe, but it was more, it got serious in the gap between that and 2112, where it was
That's
like,
okay. That's what I was thinking of.
yeah, that was more just like, oh shit, this could potentially end us. This is more just like, I kind of can't help but feel Life is But a Dream is just Avenged's excuse to just piss off their record label. And I kind of respect the shit out of that.
Same. Like for anyone who's been keeping up with Renegade Animation and various other podcasts, you know I'm not the biggest fan of the executives at Warner at the moment. So and anything to stick it to them, I am all in favor of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess with that in mind, I kind of wanted us to have a little bit of a week's break in between before actually talking about this thing. But Mike, if I'm wholly honest, I kind of love this thing.
Me too. And again, I want to make it clear, I was not expecting to I was not expecting to personally love this record, but I also wasn't expecting this to be like actually divisive. Not like the fake divisive where it's like either 75% positive or 75% negative. No, this is I think a pretty 50-50 split between the fan base.
Oh, I was kind of expecting that from the get-go, but I'm also more just surprised the band is just taking it in such stride, almost like they're just trolling everybody. Like, I genuinely like I don't hate Anthony Fantano's takes a lot of the times, but this is not a not good worthy album.
No, not even close.
I don't agree with Crash's take, breaking out the baseball bat with the nails driven into it and the anime face on it. No, this is not an absolute catastrophe of an album. You want to know what this is? I imagine this great comedy of, again, M Shadows and Sinister Gates and the rest of the band just waltz right into Warner Records and say, yeah, we'll totally re-sign to you. We'll totally just give you another album full of hits, and then they all just get high on LSD and listen to Mr. Bungle, Yeezus, and Daft Punk. That's
Yeah,
literally that's literally the sound of this record, guys. Like it goes like there are bits of old Avenged Sevenfold in there. There's bits on Game Over, but that's like almost a straight up thrash part.
yeah.
There's bits on Mattel, but it's got these weird quirks to it. And plus, Mike, you were even mentioning that there was one movie reference that you were thinking of.
Oh man, now I can't even remember what that was.
The one I noticed was from Truman Show with the good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Oh yeah.
Like that, I was like, okay, that's the Truman Show. But like my thing with like even just the singles that got released, I don't even know what would have worked as a first single.
Me neither. And like even Nobody, which my local radio station has played about as often as they do any like hot radio single. Like I've warmed up to it, but the first time I listened to it, I'm like, huh, this is different, even by Avenged Sevenfold's standard.
The thing that I couldn't help but feel is, and I even went back and listened to it this week, was again California by Mr. Bungle. And that's kind of where I kind of feel like a lot of the net, like I don't want to be that person that just says, "Oh, you didn't get it. It's supposed all these production choices are deliberate and you're just being a hater." Like I don't want to sound like that guy, but like a lot of the same criticisms being lodged against Life is But a Dream, I feel you could lodge against California by Mr. Bungle, but it also just feels like, I don't know. Part of me respects that a band on Sevenfold's level is doing this, but at the same time, I'm also I'm not going to be dishonest either. I'm not going to act like I 100% get the concept behind it.
Yeah, this is I think one that you have to give it time to marinate.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of like even just weirder stuff like We Love You. This is I was more surprised this one even got as much hate as it did. I was like, "Ooh, the cool thrashy bits are here. Awesome." But then it just has this weird industrial section of just M Shadows being kind of monotone, just basically acting like this is humanity ultimately building its own destruction, essentially. But then
Okay,
just goes into this chorus.
I remember the movie reference now. This album is basically Avenged Sevenfold's Doctor Strangelove. How I stopped worrying and learned to love the bomb.
Not wrong. I can't really disagree with that because I mean this album gets out there. Like even like I was just texting you halfway through listening to this thing going like, "Man, this album really has to be Avenged's Vitology, a band that's like basically at the height of their popularity and then decides to just release something that's so out of left field, not commercial." And then guess what ends up happening? And I'm going to have Kiona drop another sample of this in here. All of a sudden, either Zacky Vengeance or Sinister Gates, one of them starts playing basically the Yellow Ledbetter riff.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Like, just out of nowhere, I was like, what the fuck am I listening to? But not in a bad way. I just couldn't help but go, like, I kind of love that this is all over the place and kind of messy because it kind of works in its own weird way. So I just, man, like it's a trip to listen to front to back, just like even to the God Suite, just like randomly dropping in pretty much a Daft Punk cover halfway through it.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's I guess that's the main thing is just we expect catchy choruses out of Avenged to this point, and it's just kind of weird having an album without a catchy hook to it.
I want to reemphasize what I said about the stage that this band has been around for how many years yet now? Like almost 2 decades.
A little over now, yeah.
Like we shouldn't discourage bands of their caliber to to be weird, to be experimental, step out of your comfort zone, etc., etc. Like not every attempt at experimentation is going to work, but
Suicide Silence is self-titled.
but I would rather bands try and fail than not try and still fail.
Yeah, exactly. Like my thing going into this was like we were seriously debating on having this be our first what happened to this band episode, but I guess just hearing the singles in context of the actual record, giving the record an honest open chance, listening to it on good headphones rather than just the crappiest cell phone speakers possible, and just giving it multiple listens. I would recommend people give it at least 2 listens to just give it its fair shake, because there are ideas here that there is still everything that's good about the band. It's just it's filtered through this really weird avant-garde, almost prog type stuff happening here, but it's not to the degree of like say Between the Buried Me and the Faceless. It's more kind of like I would say if early Porcupine Tree and Mr. Bungle had a baby and just throw in a little King Crimson for extra added measure, bam, you have Life Is But a Dream.
That is shockingly accurate, and yeah, kind of like what you said. I would just really give this album an honest chance. Personally, I listened to this album twice, and then just like there were just a couple tracks that really warranted for like further exploration. Like Cosmic, I think, might be one of their all-time best Sonic achievements. Just in the range of slow and melodic to also getting a little bit heavier.
The thing I find weird and kind of funny about that is that song, it doesn't have a chorus to it either. If you really think
It
about
just it's a very fluid song.
it. My thing, I really wish they would have done it, and I just heard about this like yesterday, and I even texted you about this over Facebook. Apparently, Beautiful Morning was supposed to have Lionel Richie do guest vocals.
Oh man.
Biggest missed opportunity ever to just troll everyone. For me, again, just for how weird it is, I kind of love Easier. And then for the more metal side, I would say I probably do like Game Over a hair a little bit more than Mattel. But like in terms of the singles, I weirdly really enjoy We Love You.
Oh my god. I have so much fun with We Love You because this is gonna sound really weird, but the industrial spoken word part reminds me a lot of did you guys get Bill Nye the Science Guy in Canada?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Then you know exactly where my mind is
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I know the build. Like, for the first time in like 7 years since The Conjuring 2 came out, I have another media related thing that I can point to and go, there's a missed opportunity to drop a Bill Nye the Science Guy sample in there. I almost would have respected them even more for dropping that if they did. Like,
Yes, same.
if Dream Theater can drop an Owen Wilson, wow, in their last album before this most recent one, if they can get away with doing that, so can Avenged Sevenfold.
Hell, one thing we glossed over in the stage is that Neil deGrasse Tyson like specifically wrote spoken word for that track.
Yeah, and one thing I believe I would have forgotten to mention when talking about the self-titled would have been M Shadow's wife, who also she was in the Seize the Day video, if I'm not mistaken. She actually does the Scream part, like the first Scream part on Scream.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so like there's little cool bits. That's the thing that I do enjoy about this band, just kind of looking back at their catalog with this bigger picture, is that there's a lot you can come back to and go, oh, that's really cool. I can't believe I didn't notice that the first time. That's kind of what's great about Sevenfold, is that you can look at them in this bigger picture and just go, yeah, there's weird shifts and turns, but I kind of admire the shit out of them either taking risks or just wanting to, commit to this new direction for whether it stays consistent or whether it stays for more than one album. You can't deny that they're a ballsy band that somehow gets on the radio.
I think that's exactly why I hold this band in such high regard. Like, sure, on the surface, they may come across as like one of those like basic bitch metal bands that only jocks and like casual listeners would enjoy. But if you actually take the time to really dissect their discography, there's a lot more interesting stuff beneath the surface. Whether we're just talking about like the music that influenced them to the deeper cuts on albums like City of Evil, they're self-titled. Even Waking the Fallen has sort of like the seeds of what you would end up hearing on their later records.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's just a ton to like about them, and I mostly find a lot of the hate directed towards them comes from like post Hail to the King, but I do feel like some of the hate is unwarranted in a lot of places.
Yeah, a lot of the hate it feels very surface level to me.
Yeah, like if you're just taking a look at Waking the Fallen era promo photos, like there's no photo of me that exists of me with like short dyed black hair and like painted fingernails. there's no photo of me like that, and that's not an image I'd go for personally. But I mean, there's actual substance to the music over just the style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even if it's not like Bullet for My Valentine where the style is off-putting for me and the music even is off-putting for me. There's stuff to like about Sevenfold, I find, and there's stuff to gravitate towards, like the good musicians, the lyrical content that can get interesting, the risks that they take album to album. Whether it pays off in the long run, maybe debatable on some of the lesser records, but I mean, if it gives us stuff like The Stage again, I can't find much to complain about.
One last question, like just because I'm curious. Post Life is But a Dream, do you think they're gonna like stay on Warner for the long haul, or is this one of those like get in, do their thing, and then get out?
I have no clue. I have no clue where they're going to even go after this album, and I guess that's just kind of exciting. But at the same time, like, just the general concept of record labels seems to be going out the door. Like, Metallica's no longer on Elektra Records, Slipknot's no longer on Roadrunner, Black Sabbath's disbanded, Iron Maiden's still, to my knowledge, on EMI Records. But either bands have just like outright forgone the major labels and just either gone independent or signed a smaller label if you're a band like Machine Head, Lamb of God, Sepultura. Just I don't know. And I guess I kind of find that exciting with a band like this, is that, yeah, they're basically committing career suicide and just having the most fun with it.
I agree with what you said about record labels. Like, who really cares that like in 2023, like what label a band is signed to? Like most of the music that kids listen to today are a lot of like independent artists, and if that's the future of heavy metal music, then I kind of welcome that.
Yeah, at the same time, I kind of can't help but feel like, again, I have no idea what Sevenfold's future is going to look like. So I guess just with that in mind, I'm still kind of tempted to go see them after actually hearing this album now. And I'm just thankful I don't get to see Falling in Reverse make me want to throw up in front of everyone.
Oh yeah. Speaking of bar for the lineups, I'm assuming that you have a couple really notorious examples.
Oh, yes. Let me go from bad to egregious to downright terrible. So I guess number 3, I'm going to go with the Uproar 2011 lineup,
Ooh,
which is 3 Days Grace, Seether, Bullet for My Valentine, and Escape the Fate.
that's
Yeah.
that is definitely barf-worthy.
By the way, they played MIA when they came to Edmonton,
All right.
and closed the show with A Little Piece of Heaven, which the set list couldn't help me but make me go like, man, I regret not going to this, but I didn't have to hear Adam Gontier whine about middle school grade problems, or hear Matt Tuck cry about how his girlfriend broke his heart. Now he's sad and depressed over Iron Maiden knockoff riffs.
Oh right. This is 2011. This is before Adam left.
Even when Adam was in 3 Days Grace, I couldn't stand them. But anyway, like, at least maybe I could have snuck off to go see Seven Dust. That would have been great. My number 2 pick is the Buried Alive tour shortly after Uproar, with Hollywood Undead, Who Asked Alexandria, and Black Veil Brides.
Ooh.
Yeah, enough said. I know punk rock NBA fanboys are going to be like, he hates asking Alexandria. He's a neck-bearded gatekeeper. Fuck off. No, Asking Alexandria is terrible. I can't stand them. Hollywood Undead, it makes Limp Bizkit sound like fucking Mozart in comparison, and Black Veil Brides I have no time for. And then my number 1 is arguably the most And no, I'm not gonna, because I couldn't find a tour poster for this online. So no, I'm not gonna count it. And I do not want to discuss the other LP, not Linkin Park, just to establish that for any new metal fans. My number one most barf worthy Avenged Sevenfold tour lineup is Five Finger Death Punch and Asking Alexandria.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's my most barf worthy tours from this band. So if the trade-off is we get good music, but I have to skip their shows sometimes, I'll take another album like The Stage at least, please.
I'm only going to add a dishonorable mention to that list for their 2007 2008 tour where they co-headlined with Buckcherry, and I believe the other supporting acts were like Shinedown and Saving Abel.
Shinedown would have been worth watching, but like the better lineup, and this was a thing apparently, it was Avenged, Shinedown, and Shadows Fall.
Ooh, that would have been so much better.
Oh, imagine that as a tour. Like that's how you hook the metalheads and the hard rock crowd.
Yeah, it's kind of perfect for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, who doesn't want to get hit in the face by Brian Fair's dreadlocks?
Um,
And,
I want to end this podcast on a positive note. So,
yes.
Aside from The Stage, which I think we both kind of established is like their their crown jewel, how would you rank the rest of their catalog?
The Stage, Nightmare, City of Evil, Waking the Fallen. It's too early for me to rank Life is But a Dream right now, so I'm not going to count it for now. But, The Stage, Nightmare, City of Evil, Waking the Fallen, self-titled, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, because, well, I don't... Which one am I going to trade off for least favorite? Because Sounding the Seventh Trumpet is forgettable, but Hail to the King is memorable, at least, even if it's not as good as everything else.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, so I might just say tie for least favorite because it could alternate.
I think that's fair. And for me, it is definitely a tie between The Stage and, yeah, I'll say it, City of Evil and The Stage are tied for number one. Right below that is Nightmare, then Waking the Fallen, then self-titled. I'm also gonna, for now, leave off Life is But a Dream, but hypothetically, that might be like either, I think that might be somewhere in the middle, but again, putting asterisks on there until I listen to that more. And then at the bottom, yeah, I'm gonna have to tie up Sound of the Seventh Trumpet and Hail to the King.
I think that's the only logical choice. You either trade off forgettable and just kind of or but at least it's memorable, and its memorable points are not the band's high points. So I guess with that in mind, that really just concludes this entire podcast on why we love this band.
Yeah, this was a fun one. I'm glad we got this one first, because this feels like a band that we have a lot of like personal history with, and this is a series that I want to continue doing more of on this podcast, because like this is the music that I really grew up with, and like this is how like more of our listeners will kind of get to know our musical taste. But yeah, until next time, Nick, where can everyone find you online?
Super Saiyan Death Metal God on Instagram. I mostly post album covers, movies, video games, just whatever media I happen to be enjoying at the moment. I actually have my name at the end of the credits for In Search of Darkness Part 3, which is currently streaming on Shudder because I technically backed it by buying the Blu-ray cover featuring Corey Taylor from Slipknot on it. And yeah, that's where you can find me online, Super Saiyan Death Metal God.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser, subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/renegade pop culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Jukebox. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.